This is
Leeloo Dallas Multipass.
When The Fifth Element hit theaters in 1997, no one expected a sci-fi film this bold, a strange blend of neon chaos, French fashion, and space-age philosophy. Directed by Luc Besson, it was both a dream and a disaster, a movie that redefined the limits of imagination while nearly collapsing under its own ambition. But what really happened behind the cameras, the battles, the rewrites, the obsessions, is a story that fans rarely hear. Over the next few minutes, we'll uncover 10 shocking secrets that shaped one of cinema's most unpredictable masterpieces. Before we dive in, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your support keeps this channel alive and fuels the hunt for the next hidden story. Without you, the search stops here. Secret 1. The Fifth Element was almost never made. Before The Fifth Element dazzled audiences with flying taxis and glowing orange hair, it almost never existed. Director Luc Besson began writing the story when he was just 16, long before he had the experience or resources to make it real. For years, Hollywood studios rejected his idea, calling it too strange, too colorful, and impossible to film. But Besson refused to give up. By the time the project finally went into production, it had become the most expensive European film ever made, costing nearly $90 million, an insane gamble in the 1990s. Behind the futuristic skyline and wild costumes, chaos was constant. Bruce Willis was cast only after two other major Hollywood stars turned the role down. Milla Jovovich beat out thousands of actresses for the part of Leeloo and learned a completely new invented language that Besson wrote himself. During filming, tempers flared. Besson's perfectionism clashed with the visual effects team, and shooting schedules exploded. Yet somehow, the disaster turned into brilliance. Every frame became a handcrafted painting of organized madness, and what few people know is that Besson based much of his vision on the French comic books he grew up reading, like Valerian and Laureline. The similarity was so strong that fans accused him of stealing from the comics. Years before, Besson eventually bought the rights and made Valerian decades later. The Fifth Element was never supposed to succeed, but through sheer obsession, it transformed from a doomed script into one of the boldest science fiction worlds ever put on screen. Secret 2. How Leeloo's language was born and how Milla learned it. One of the most haunting, beautiful aspects of The Fifth Element is Leeloo's language. Those desperate, alien syllables that feel like a prayer and a threat at once. That language wasn't a random alien gibberish, it was carefully constructed. Director Luc Besson and the production linguist built a compact phonetic system for Leeloo designed to sound both ancient and immediate. Milla Jovovich didn't improvise it. She learned the sound system as an actor learns a text. Besson taught her the pronunciation and emotional beats during long voice coaching sessions, so each cry, question, and plea had an internal logic. The result, every time Leeloo speaks, the audience senses meaning even if they can't translate it. The language also solved a practical problem, making the character feel otherworldly without relying on subtitles or exposition. It made Leeloo utterly alien and utterly sympathetic, and helped carry the whole film's emotional core. That small creative choice, a deliberately built language taught intensely to the actress, is one reason Leeloo remains unforgettable. Secret 3. The Diva, the impossible opera scene, how it was filmed and who sang it. The Flost in Paradise opera is one of The Fifth Element's most stunning, strange sequences. An alien diva singing a piece unlike anything in a modern film. That performance combined operatic technique, avant-garde staging, and a practical on-set monster of makeup and movement. The voice that moves through that scene wasn't just a random singer. The production hired a trained operatic vocalist to record the performance. The vocal performance was produced specifically for the film. On screen, the diva's movements were heavily choreographed and required precise coordination between singer playback, prosthetic makeup, and camera choreography. The costume and makeup calls for the diva were extreme. Prosthetics restricted breathing and movement, makeup took hours, and the team had to time the shot so the performer could sing without damaging vocal technique. For the crew, it was a massive coordination problem. Sound, prosthetics, costume, camera, and lighting all had to synchronize perfectly for what looks like a single fluid moment. It's a perfect example of how the fifth element married spectacle and craft. Without that meticulous behind-the-scenes engineering, the opera would have been a note in a movie. Instead, it became one of its most memorable beats. Secret 4. Zorg, the villain who was a satire of corporate power. Gary Oldman's Zorg is outrageous, a cartoonish billionaire in a purple suit, but the character hides a sharper point, a satire of corporate greed and military-industrial chaos. Oldman leaned into the madness, but the character was shaped by Luc Besson's desire to lampoon consumerism and weaponize commerce on screen. Zorg's gadgets, the elaborate office, and the absurd monologues were built to be a caricature, but they were also informed by real-world anxieties about privatized war and corporate warfare. Oldman reportedly improvised certain mannerisms, while the prop department built ostentatious devices so the actor could play with them. The result is a villain who's funny, terrifying, and oddly believable, a man who treats destruction like a business decision. That careful, satirical design, costume, prop, and performance made Zorg more than a villain. He's a warning dressed in silk. Secret 5. Practical effects, miniatures, and the city that couldn't be built in CGI. The flying taxis, the layered cityscapes, and the teeming metropolis in The Fifth Element weren't all pixels. A surprising amount of the film's world was created using miniatures, matte paintings, and practical rigs. The visual effects team blended physical models with digital enhancements in a pipeline that in 1997 was still evolving. To evoke scale, the crew built large miniatures of city blocks and filmed them with motion-controlled cameras. These were then integrated with live-action plates and a layer of digital matte painting. The practical approach gave the city texture and tangibility, reflections, real shadows, and dust caught in light, things that early CGI often struggled to reproduce faithfully. The team's hybrid approach gave The Fifth Element a timeless look. Those miniatures and sets are why the film still reads as physical and lived in even decades later. Secret 6. Stunts and near misses. The taxi chase and Leeloo's falls. The taxi chase and Leeloo's spectacular falls are some of the film's most kinetic moments, and they were dangerous to make. Stunt teams rehearsed the taxi sequences for weeks using practical rigs, wire work, and carefully timed pyrotechnics. Milla performed many of her own physical moves with safety rigs, and the production used a mixture of stunt doubles and careful camera tricks to create the sense that she was falling through heavy traffic. Some sequences required complex rigging and precise coordination with drivers and special effects teams. There were near misses and last-minute adjustments. Safety teams were on high alert. The stunts taught the production to respect physical risk and to choreograph chaos so it looked spontaneous. The payoff is unforgettable. Visceral camera movement and real physical tension that still reads on screen. Secret 7. Eric Serra's score, Why the Sound Was a Risk. Eric Serra's score for The Fifth Element is unusual, part pop, part electronic, and part orchestral texture. Serra had worked with Luc Besson on several films, and Besson trusted him to create a sound that matched the film's singular world. But the choice wasn't without controversy. Some audiences expected a traditional orchestral sci-fi sweep. Serra's modern, sometimes minimalist textures were divisive at release. Serra's palette, synth pads, rhythmic electronics, and layered textures became a signature of the film's tone. Today, many celebrate it for the same reasons early critics were confused. It refused to be safe. That creative gamble in sound helped the movie feel contemporary and strange. Secret 8. Hidden symbolism, elements, religion, and costuming. Under the film's neon surface is a lattice of symbols, elemental motifs, religious iconography, and costume choices that echo deeper themes. Leeloo, as the fifth element, functions as both salvation and sacrifice, while the four classical elements, earth, fire, wind, water, appear in staging, props, and color choices. Luc Besson often used religious or ritual imagery, ceremonial gestures, chanting, and sacramental staging to give the film a mythic undercurrent. Costumes and colors were chosen not only for spectacle, but to signal emotional and thematic beats. Certain hues appear in scenes connected to purity, danger, or transformation. Reading the film visually reveals a method, a filmmaker folding mythology into pop culture. That hidden layer is why the film rewards repeat viewings. Each time you catch another echo of an element or color motif, it deepens the story. Secret 9. On-set tensions and creative clashes that shaped the tone. Big productions breed big personalities, and The Fifth Element was no exception. Luc Besson's factory-like pace and high standards led to conflict with departments under scheduling pressure, and budget strain amplified stress. Tales from the set include heated arguments over design choices, last-minute rewrites, and crew exhaustion. Those tensions sometimes produced friction, but they also produced a certain manic energy that translated on screen. The film's sense of frenetic pace and saturated emotion is partly a product of those clashes. When artists are pushed to the edge, surprising creative solutions often emerge. The arguments didn't break the movie, they welded it into the unique artifact you see today. Secret 10. Legacy, fashion, pop culture, and why the film still matters.
Decades after release, The Fifth Element remains an aesthetic touchstone for fashion, production design, and the way modern directors imagine urban futures. Designers still reference Jean-Paul Gaultier's work. The bandage suit and orange hair are recurring images in pop culture and cosplay. The film's mix of haute couture and trashy futurism is now a study in costume and design courses. The movie also proved that European directors could produce spectacle on a blockbuster scale without losing personality. Its success opened doors for bolder genre experiments in Europe and encouraged other filmmakers to mix high fashion sensibility with pulp storytelling. The film is imperfect, but its imperfections are its power, a wild, colorful experiment that questioned commercial taste and aesthetic expectations, and ultimately rewrote them.
And that wraps up the untold secrets behind The Fifth Element, a film that turned chaos, color, and creativity into pure sci-fi magic. From Luc Besson's wild imagination to Milla Jovovich's unforgettable performance, this movie proved that the weird and the wonderful can live side by side. If you enjoyed uncovering these hidden truths, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It genuinely means the world to this channel. Your support keeps me digging deeper into cinema's most fascinating stories. Drop a comment below and tell me which secret or moment surprised you the most. Your ideas help decide what movie we explore next. Until then, keep watching, keep wondering, and remember, the greatest element of all is curiosity.